Hi and welcome back to Whatever You Want, Jordana. I'm going to do a video on what I feel and think and my experience with depression and anxiety and medication is, because this is something that is part of my daily life, and I feel that if I could say something about it that could help or inspire or educate someone else, then that's just one good thing I can do. So as I said in my other video, I've been bullied my whole life growing up, up until my early 20s. I had two breakdowns in my life, which have ended me up in the hospital. So one attempted suicide at the age of 21. Well, that I ended up in the hospital for. Many attempted suicides before that. Just whether it was for craving the attention of my parents or screaming out for help. I feel like if you are someone who is hurting yourself, whether it's anorexia or cutting or drug use or promiscuity or any one of those things, it's really hard to get yourself out of a situation like that. It's really hard to go and get help if you feel that you don't necessarily want the help at that time. You want to wallow away in your misery, which is, for the most part, what I was doing for myself. So the consequences of wallowing away and not getting yourself help are that you end up, the more drugs you do and the more hurt you cause your body and your mind, end up having long-term effects. So from drug use, there's a thing called psychosis that I actually learned in grade 11 that I remember. And it's just where chemicals screw with your chemicals in your brain. So there's that. There's also, you can't not get pregnant. You can't, just live a daily life. You could have problems breathing. You can have heart palpitations. Like, there's so many things. And, cutting yourself, you end up with scars all over your body. Like, there are obviously long-term consequences to hurting yourself. I never cut myself deep enough or enough to scar. I would just, take a blade and sort of play around on my arms, but it was really nothing that ever left me with scars. I never hurt myself physically like that. So yeah. The attempted suicides, I will not get into how or why. I don't want to give any ideas to anyone. So this is really hard to talk about, and I'm forcing myself to do this. So depression. As I was saying, so 2 years ago, I was 24 years old. I was in school full time, working towards a bachelor's degree. So happy. I was running an association as a VP social with some other kids, some other young adults at my university. I was the kind of student who always sat front row and center in class, raised my hand, talked all the time. Professors knew me by name. I did so well. I had good grades, and, I love learning. I think learning is never a waste, and learning is a beautiful thing. And even though I did not graduate from university, I do not consider my education a waste. So I was in school full-time and working part-time at the job I'm still at now, and everything was going so well. And then all of a sudden, literally from absolutely nowhere, I remember it being September and the weather started to change, and I just remember feeling so far away from my own self, so distant and so unattached to things, and just sad. I just felt so sad. And then as months went on, it got worse, and I ended up having to take a medical leave from school, and I had to take a med leave from work. So I took 3 months. during those 3 months, even before those 3 months, I had to be seen by a medical professional because I didn't know what was happening. So my boyfriend, who I was living with, said I was crying constantly, not caring about my appearance, not wanting to get out of bed, not wanting to eat, not wanting to see people, talk to people. He knew something was wrong, and he said, you have to go get help. You have to go see someone. I really didn't want to. I didn't want to admit to myself that there could be something wrong. Mental illness runs in my family, so for me that's a really soft spot too. So I spoke to my dad, and he got me to see his doctor. And I saw him, and then I had a psychiatric evaluation. And sitting there in front of two complete strangers and talking about all that you've experienced, all that I just said in my last video, like different schools and being bullied and all the challenges having to face, all my emotional, mental feelings, everything. You're literally like putting yourself out and talking about all these things that you feel to yourself are just so intense and strong, and you don't know how someone else is going to feel or think about that. And of course you feel self-conscious and you feel insecure. So after being diagnosed, which is like a really hard pill to swallow, that's probably like a really hard reality, being told you do have, anxiety, you do suffer from this, you do suffer from that, you will be on pills, medication for this will help, that will, sort through this, and having to go to therapy every week, and being in a relationship and living on your own and having the responsibility of paying your bills, having the responsibility of taking care of someone else, of having pets is hard. And not being able to get out of bed every day, not being able to stop crying, and having a loved one watch you go through that is harder than anything else was for me. I think that the guilt for putting him through this was harder on me than accepting my new reality. So I would cry because I wasn't feeling well, but I would cry even harder because I didn't want him to see me cry. I didn't want him to have to be with a girl who was sick. I didn't want him to have to stay with me through this. So of course, what do? You try and push and push and push away. He didn't go anywhere. He's still here. So I'm really lucky because he didn't have to stay. And he did. Because he's amazing and he loves me. And after all those years of being rejected and bullied and feeling insecure, I managed to find someone who loves me for me. So it's pretty fantastic. So depression, it gets easier when you if you decide to take medication, it gets easier if you find the right medication for you. There is the trial and error, which is harder than most cases because you're being put on all these drugs that are either going to make you feel great or going to make you feel 10 times worse. The thoughts of suicide that I endured in the first year of this downfall of my life were pretty serious and pretty bad. I didn't want to live. I didn't want to go through all of this, and I had a date set. I knew the time, I knew the place, I knew the date. And then I don't know. I just didn't. So then my medication set in. It worked for me. I read Twilight, which was amazing. I went to Los Angeles to visit my sister and my little baby nephews. I got out of my everyday funk. We actually just moved in July, and I have to say, ever since we moved, this is like the second time I'm crying since July in my home. Like, that apartment that I lived in, I don't know if it was cursed. I don't know if it was like just bad vibing or something, but I cried and cried and cried and hurt so much in that home that ever since we moved, I feel so good. So maybe switching environments helps. I don't know. Depression is really, it's hard, and you have to understand that it's a disease. It's not something somebody can fake. It's not something somebody wants or asks for. It's basically a cancer, and it has to get treated. And having mental illness is a serious illness. It's not something that should ever be taken lightly. It's not something that people should ever just, blow off. Anxiety really sucks. Anxiety is, for me, I experience more physical anxiety than anything else. At least that's how it feels to me. And, it's hard. And it's hard being a professional and having to go to work every day and not having the choice, and having to wake up and open a store and, put on a smile even when people are being so damn rude to your face because they are unhappy with whatever. Like, you have no choice. And I am really proud of myself because even though I don't necessarily thought I would ever agree with taking medication, it has really let me come a long way. It saved my life. My boyfriend saved my life. The support of 2 specific people helped save my life. And I obviously guessed the will to live. So depression is not something that you should ever take lightly. It's not something you should ever criticize somebody for having. It's not something that is a delight to go through, obviously. And anxiety just really sucks. And I'm on 2 different medications, obviously to handle, one is to handle the depression and one is to handle the anxiety. So I'm starting to lower my anxiety medication because I'm feeling stronger and I'm feeling confident and secure. And I've come a long way, and I'm really proud of myself, and I hope to only go farther. And I hope to become a mom one day and own a home and raise beautiful little babies and make my partner proud of me and give him all the love and support that he gave me when I really needed it. I will do that forever, even if he hadn't done that for me, like, during that. Like, I mean, if I hadn't experienced that, like, you still should always give your everything to the person you're with. So if you are suffering from depression or from anxiety, you should definitely seek help, whether it is talking to a friend about it or emailing a professor or a teacher about it or writing it down in a letter and giving it to your parents, whatever it is you need to do. My best form of communication growing up was writing letters. If I felt, if I felt that I was being done wrong by my mom or something, I'd write her a letter, write my dad a letter, write my friends a letter, write my boyfriend's letters. Like, I was a writer. I wrote. It made me speak. It made what I had in here come out from there. So it helped. So from bullying and experiencing depression and anxiety, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Long, 14 minutes short, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. And it's big, it's beautiful, it's bright, and it's there. So do the best you can, because you have one life. And you know what? There's so much more. There's so much more after depression. Like, and smiling. That's fantastic. That right there shows you, after being the downest I had ever been in my life, from feeling the lowest, the most. I felt like I was so unworthy of life. I felt so just unworthy of love. And now I'm just so happy. So just know that it's worth it. And you're worth it. Thank you for listening.